Alright, we should be live. We're back. We're working on Teval, Arbiter of Virtue. Here she is in case you need a reminder of how she works. And I am going to be a bit distracted today, so if you've listened to a lot of my streams, you might have encountered one of the ones where my roof back here in my office leaks when it rains sometimes. Not all the time, just sometimes. And it was pouring rain all day yesterday while I was at work, so I spent a lot of time last night. Like, I have stuff set up to catch the water just in case it rains just arbitrarily because of that, so I had to dump all of that out, and there's a, cover for the light fixture on the ceiling, and that is refilling with water as we speak and leaking through the bolt that holds it in place. So yeah, and every once in a while I hear this sound coming from what I'm assuming is I don't know if they're still called crawl spaces when they're in the eaves of the house in the upper floor, but that there's stuff I can't get to. My house is so full of stuff that isn't even mine, so I can't do anything about it. But it's not full on hoarder, but it's close. So yeah, so I can't get to whatever is. It sounds like a bucket is finally overflowing up there. That was probably put in there to catch the water when it used to leak way back in the day, so that way it didn't leak down here, and we didn't know about it, and then we piled stuff up in front of it, and now years later I can't get to it, and water just occasionally falls in this section of office back here, and yeah. So yeah, I'm very distracted by all of that right now, and it drives me absolutely insane, and I don't have the money to fix the roof, and I don't have access to the thing to even try and mitigate some of this, so it's absolutely maddening. And I hate it with all of my heart. So anyway, Teval. Teval is at 120 cards right now. And we need to cut 60 cards off of Teval. And the biggest problem with that is I don't want to cut anything right now, at all. Every single one of these 120 cards, which is not counting lands, so we currently have 20 more cards than we can run. We have to cut 20 cards, and then we still don't have any land in the deck. Every single one of these cards I want to keep in the deck, and or it has its place, or it's just a utility card, and we need a certain amount of those utility cards, so everything we cut from this point forward, stuff I was cutting yesterday hurt so bad. Cutting the Ancient Cellar Spawn still feels awful. Genuinely awful. There's a part of me that's going to cut this Traumatize and just add in whatever the blue adventure land is from Final Fantasy. The only downside to that is the adventure land costs 6 mana to Traumatize, whereas Traumatize itself is still 5. So yeah, that part of me is that part of me that wants to cut it is but this costs the same amount as our commander, and the other one costs 1 more. But if we're casting it after our commander's already in play, then we should have access to at least a black and a green, plus however many cards we just put in the graveyard for colorless spells, or for the colorless portion of casting costs. So I have to believe that we can cast enough stuff after that to be relevant. Even with a bunch of the artifacts I cut out, there's still more than enough of them for Fabricate. Between the haste granting ones to get Teval in there immediately to gain back the 6 life, Whip of Erebos to give lifelink to my other stuff, Mindslaver is one of the bomby things I can tutor for, Alhamrat's Archive, Well of Lost Dreams. Yeah, there's way too many incredibly powerful artifacts that synergize with our deck that I can tutor for. Then it comes back to, like, do I actually cut Worldly Tutor? And part of me wants to, and part of me's like, no, if you cut Worldly Tutor, then you get into situations where you can tutor for the giant doomsday creature like Ulamog, for example, put him on top, draw him, and then cast him, and despite the amount of mana that you may have spent on everything else in this turn because of how Teval works, you can probably still cast Ulamog. Take the 10 damage and exile 2 permanents, then have Ulamog in play. RC, Grave Troll, Damnation, Polluted Delta. I know, that's Polluted Bonds. Sorry, I saw Polluted and my brain auto-corrected. It doesn't help that it's Polluted and Woodfall. It's like Polluted Delta and Wooded Foothills are like... Chief Ascension, Hedron Crab. I really like the Crab as like a 1-drop where I can mill myself almost immediately. Like, if I play it on 2, I might be able to mill myself 6 cards very easily. I play fetch lands in every single commander deck I build. I think there might have been one where I, like, hated out searching so I didn't run fetches or something like that, but... Or maybe it was, what's her name, because I needed all of the lands to have the different types. So there was more benefit to that than there was to fetching Omo, Queen of Asuva. I forget now. I build so many decks now that they're all starting to mesh together in my brain. I forget if the water dripping is loud enough to get picked up by the mic by itself, but... I'm not, like, looking at the thing while it drips because I actually want to work on Teval and not get too distracted, but God, is that distracting. Looking at Void Winnower now, it doesn't have any evasion abilities. It is a large, powerful creature, and it does cut off a whole lot of spells. Like, it's not stopping things like Swords and Path, but it is stopping things like Wrath of God and Farewell, so... So in that regard, it's very tempting. And this is the issue that I run into. I want all of these cards. Like, every single one of them has a reason to still be on this list. I started with like 300 and something, or close to 300. I forget what the exact number was now, but if it wasn't 300, it was in like the 280s or 290s at the... Like, 280s is at the lowest. I think it might have been over 300, so... The fact that we have cut, like, 2/3 of the cards means everything else left on this list has a reason for being here, and I'm very sad when I have to cut it. I look at cards like Storm of Saruman, I'm like, but I can very easily cast this and cast something else immediately thereafter and double spell. Like, get double value out of that spell, and then every turn after that I do that, it's just more value. As cool as that is, I have a lot of card draw and a lot of ways to get more value out of spells anyway. Do I need the Storm of Saruman also? Yep, this is what I mean. Like, cards that I'm very excited to play in this deck and I think would be a lot of fun. We don't have room for all of them, and we need, like, the basic things that make the deck work, so we can't cut too much card draw or removal. So if I need to cut things, then a 6 mana do nothing by itself enchantment is probably one of the cards I need to cut. But God, does that make me sad inside? Alright, looking at Primeval Bounty now. Same issue, 6 mana, have to do something else in order for it to do anything. Primeval Bounty the next victim. Like, Landfall gain 3 life, especially with all the fetches I run, just feels so good, but it's a 6 mana enchantment to start with. And while that's not as big a deal for Teval, that is still 6 damage I dealt myself, so I need to double Landfall just to gain back the life that I'm losing to cast the spell in the first place. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Let's get rid of Primeval Bounty. I'm still not prepared to cut Astral Dragon. I think that thing's way too strong. And I finally have a deck that's going to be able to cast it and be comfortable casting it and not, and possibly even have, like, counter magic up to make sure it resolves and whatnot. So you really like the Fanatic in this deck. Like, even just hard casting it is fine. Like, getting a 4/4 lifelink that brings back one of my other big scary creatures with lifelink. It's got to be good in this deck. Plus, then, when it dies, we can reanimate it later on and bring back something else, so possibly even the thing it brought back the first time. Yeah, I'm very much down for Fnatic staying in. So I'm not down for everything on this list staying in. Alright, Primeval Bounty, Storm of Saruman. Yep, get Primeval Bounty off of the life gain list. Alright, fine. I've cut 2 more cards. You're down to 118. 58 more cards and we're done. Alright, sublists. Sublists are where we have the most wiggle room, but also where I need a certain amount of things. So we have currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. Oracle of Moldiah. Like, I've cut out a lot of the landfall, but Oracle still lets me play an additional land from the graveyard with my, um, you know, Crucible and the other Crucible effect, potentially. Like, is that good enough to keep Oracle in? Maybe it's not. Like, we have Glarb to play cards off of the top, and he still lets me play lands, and we have Courser to play lands off the top. So the biggest thing about Oracle is, A, I'm missing out on the play an extra land from the graveyard with Crucible, and B, I'm missing out on play the extra land when there's a second land on top, or when I can manipulate a second land to the top with Sensei's Divining Top. Or, Scroll Rack. Or because I cracked a fetch land and I shuffled and now there's a land on top. I mean, Oracle is just a generally good card, but we don't need the ramp as much because of how Teval works. So it's more for the card advantage potential. So maybe we lose the Oracle. Again, I don't need a ton of ramp down here. Most of my ramp needs to be cheap enough to get Teval down a turn earlier. And Judgment is the only one that isn't fully on board with that, and it's doing so much other stuff that the deck cares about, that making the treasure token... In fact, if anything, this is on here because it draws me cards, not because it's ramp. Like, yes, it draws me cards also, or ramps me also, but that's kind of secondary. Like, I'm almost always drawing a card or even making the 2/2 before the treasure, unless I have a plan for the mana, so let's just take that off of the consideration as a ramp spell. Because while it can do that, that's not its primary or probably even secondary. That's literally out of its 3 abilities, its tertiary ability. Alright, card draw. We have Frantic Search, Fact or Fiction, Mental Note, Well of Lost Dreams, Consecrated Sphinx, Thought Scour, Adiova, Up the Beanstalk, Chalk Outline. 3 steps ahead. Again, this is... Maybe I should take this off of this because this is more interaction than card draw. The fact that it might be interaction while I'm drawing cards. But yeah, it's less on here to be card draw and more here to be a counter spell that I can do other stuff with. Like, Will of the Temur, despite copying a thing and making the 4/4, is almost entirely on here for its card draw effect. I don't know, maybe we don't need Foff? Hmm. It's also possible we just don't need the Sakaran Infiltrator. You know what? I can probably lose the Sakaran Infiltrator. I might be able to lose Fact or Fiction too. How much card draw do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 card draw spells. And a bunch of them are also helping set up with the self-mill too, so... Yeah, I think I can lose Fact or Fiction. Adiova stays because she's life gain and card draw right now. Alright, let's move down to the removal and interaction, because I have a lot of stuff that fits on this list, so... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Yeah, I don't have room in the deck for 25 different counters and removal spells. So a bunch of these are going to have to go. Alright, do I want to get rid of Woodfall Primus because of Alpha Deathclaw, or do I want to get rid of something else because Woodfall Primus is also a decent reanimation target? Woodfall Primus, Noxious Gearhulk, and Alpha Deathclaw are my three. Comes into play, kills a thing. The Deathclaw can still kill a thing with its monstrous, though. So out of the three of them, that's the one that stays, because if I run into, like, Mother of Machines or something, I might need a way to kill with the creature anyway, even though its comes into play ability is shut down, so... At least having that as an option. Plus, it's the one that kills everything, whereas the other two have limitations on them. Does the Deathclaw kill lands? Like, is it just straight up? Yeah, it's destroy a permanent, so... So what is my targeted one... Like, basically one-shot removal? Karn, kind of. He can build back up and do it again, but he can't do it again immediately, so Karn is a one-shot. Assassin's Trophy, Casualties, Mortality Spear, Tear Asunder, Drag to the Roots, Waken, Judgment. Yeah, I got 8 just on that list alone. Usually I prefer O-Stone as my board wipe because it gets everything. I'm wondering if I want Deed more because of the high casting cost on my stuff. The problem with Deed is that I still have to be able to hit X, and I can't use Graveyard as a resource for the X in it, so maybe we cut it because of that. Yeah, it's really hard for me to cut an O-Stone unless I'm running something like Perilous Vault, where it's just like, no, this is O-Stone, but in my deck it's better because I don't care about getting my stuff back, and exiling is just better in Commander. A Pernicious Deed. I'm wondering if I cut, like, Drag the Roots or Mortality Spear. I think if I cut one of them, it's Drag the Roots. Teval with Lifelink means that the Mortality Spear is almost always 2 mana, just not at instant speed. Whereas Drag can be 2 mana on the opponent's turn, but then I have to be conscious of leaving Delirium in the graveyard, which isn't always going to be a thing. So herein lies my problem. Mortality Spear can be more consistently 2 mana, but Drag the Roots can be more consistently 2 mana on an opponent's turn. Pre-combat damage, so if I need to kill something to break up a combo, or to um, stop something from dealing a ton of damage to me, then I probably need drag, because at least then that's going to be for less often than Mortality Spear is going to be for, so. The other option is to get rid of something like Waken the Honored Dead, even though it mills me and then gets a card back, simply because it's an enchantment and not an instant. But the upside to having it in the deck is that then Muldrotha can recast it as the enchantment, and then it's putting more cards in the graveyard for Muldrotha to work with. So. And anything else that can get cards back from the graveyard. But my first thought is Muldrotha, because the fact that it's an enchantment matters, because I'm cutting Pernicious Deed, so there aren't a lot of enchantments that can interact with stuff that are left on my list. So, in fact, I think this is the only other one that straight up interacts with things. So, having access to an enchantment I can also cast, because I can only cast permanents, and my artifacts that interact with stuff are O-Stone, so having access to not only planeswalkers that can interact with things, but now also an enchantment. An enchantment that's a lot cheaper to cast than like my planeswalkers or my creatures that can interact with stuff as far as permanents go. So yeah, keep Awaken the Honored Dead, keep Drag to the Roots, lose Mortality Spear, I think is correct. If I'm going to cut cards that have overlapping utility, I want to cut the ones that are the worst for the deck, and I think I've made a strong enough argument for Mortality Spear going over one of the other ones. I already cut the Thunder Junction Commander deck one that exiles all creatures. I don't know if I can cut Damnation also. I think I keep Damnation because I need another. I need a board wipe that just kills the creatures and leaves behind my like artifacts and enchantments and stuff to rebuild. And I don't think I can rely on In Garruk's Wake as a 9-drop. Like, there are going to be times where I can't even cast In Garruk's Wake because I don't have the 9 life to spare. So sometimes I'm going to need something that's a little bit cheaper and more manageable. And then we have Cyclonic Rift as a backup to that. And because it's only ever going to deal me 2 damage. But while Cyclonic Rift is interaction in that it can bounce all the opponent's stuff that they've spent all their time and mana investing and force them to start over again, it's also like a pseudo win con, sending away all their problematic stuff so I can just free reign attack. Ideally with an army of tokens made from exiling cards from my graveyard at this point. Currently have 4 counter spells on the list. It's Fierce Guardianship, 3 Steps Ahead, Disallow, and Mana Drain. Oh no, I have 5. I have Force of Will also. Does Force of Will actually go because my other stuff is almost free? The problem is I still need 2 blue for some of the counter spells. The only Fierce Guardianship is really free. The rest of them are discounted. Yeah, I probably still need Force of Will. Like, I'm more likely to be able to hold up double blue after casting one of my big scary spells with Teval, and it won't matter which one I actually have in my hand at that point. It's going to cost me 2 blue to counterspell, so. Not cutting the counter spells. There's a part of me that's wondering if I'm just going to wind up losing drag also, and my removal spells are going to be like Terra Sunder, When Grace's Judgment, Assassin's Trophy. I don't want to go too low. The problem is I have so many cards on the removal list, and I don't have room for all of them. But some of them are instant, some of them are repeatable. Like, is it possible I actually cut Oko? He doesn't straight up remove the thing, he just blanks it, making it 3-3 with no abilities. And while that's good enough a lot of the time, and the fact that he's making me food so that way I can gain life, potentially, none of that is essential. There are times though we're turning a commander into an elk so that way they have to get it killed and recast it for it to have an ability and then, deal with Oko again. It's just a bit too strong. The problem is I need to cut things. Like, I can keep talking myself back into all this cool and powerful stuff, but at the end of the day, that doesn't really help anything if I don't have room for all of it. Alright, let's go on. I did cut 2 removal spells, so let's come down here and see if we can find something off the buying back my cards list. Possible I don't need the Null Priest of Oblivion. It is nice, though, that I can exile a bunch of cards and then for 2 black get a 2-1 and something else and only take 2 damage. But that's kind of also true of things like Animate Dead and Reanimate, so... I'm also looking at Emery, but Emery is also an early self-mill card, and I kind of need those. I don't know, maybe I don't need Breach. Like, Breach is really cool. It's a very powerful spell, because I get things back from everybody. And it mills me a bunch. But it does also mill everybody else, and sometimes that can be problematic. I do already have a bunch of other Doomsday Caliber spells. So maybe Breach can go. Like, Breach as a mill card is not the best because it's 7 mana to mill 10. So, at that point, it's like getting 5 extra cards into the graveyard for the 5 that I just lost because I just lost 5 of them, and then Breach goes, but I also get something back. So as far as a mill card goes, Breach is not strong enough. As far as a big bomby spell in the deck goes, that's a little more questionable. The thing is that I'm always going to get back my, 7 mana worth of stuff just from my own graveyard, almost every time. It's not 100% guaranteed, because if somebody exiles my graveyard, and I have to basically cast a Naked Breach, and hope to hit something, but I'm hitting from everybody else too, so the odds of it just completely failing and me not getting 7 mana worth of spells, or getting 7 mana technically worth of spells that I don't want, it's gotta be pretty low, bordering on non-existent, but not quite there. Alright, let me look at Breach in comparison to the other big spells, but maybe Breach doesn't belong in the mill section, because that's not its primary function. It does mill me, so I take that into consideration, but... Or actually, it's not even in the mill section, it's in the reanimate section, but even then, that's not really, like... It's meant to be one of the big splashy spells that kind of wins me the game. Yeah, I'm thinking Null Priest is... Like, it's nice that I get a little dinky creature with lifelink and menace, but... It's a kind of a low impact creature. The upside, though, is that it's not tied to the creature. So, it's better than Animate Dead in that regard. Is it so much better than Animate Dead when it's working? No, because Animate Dead, like, we're not going to be able to cast Null Priest on, like, turn 2. We're not going to be able to Entomb Exhume here. So, we should probably cut the Null Priest then if we're going to cut one of those two. Alright, now into the self-mill. Alright, so we're cutting Factor Fiction already. We just ditch that. Maybe it's Grave Troll. It's powerful once I get it into the graveyard. I have some amount of self-mill, but it's going to take a while to find it. Like, entombing this thing early when I don't need to draw the cards is fine, but if I do need things in my hand, then I can't afford to mill myself. Because I need to find things. Yeah, okay. And talk myself into Golgari Grave Troll at this point, so we're going to. Like, I'm much more concerned about the things that mill me before my commander gets online. Again, let's take Breach off of this. Because while it is a reanimator and is a self-mill, neither of those things are as important as the big bomby spell aspect of it, so that's the part of the list that it needs to be on. I'm looking at Dredger's Insight, and I'm wondering if it's better or worse than, like, Mental Note. It costs 1 more mana, and I might... There are some situations where I'm going to hit things that I can't pull back with it, so I'm not guaranteed to get a card, but I am, at that point I'm putting 4 cards in the graveyard, as opposed to the 3 that Mental Note puts in itself and the 2 milled cards. I'm looking at Sludge Titan right now, and I'm trying to decide if I should be cutting it. So, it's slightly worse than Overlord of the Baelmerk, except that it can get me back a land. It is Baelmerk, right? Overlord at. Yeah. So, it can get me back a land, but it's more expensive than either mode on him. So the Overlord comes down sooner. And they're both ETB or attack. Mill a bunch of cards. And for 2 more mana, the Colossal Grave Reaver gets me fewer cards milled, but puts the creature directly into play rather than putting it into my hand. Yeah, I think Sludge Titan is slightly worse than both of them. But there's also a chance it should be Colossal Grave Reaver. Just keep the Titan because it's a little cheaper and mills more. Yeah, but the value on Grave Reaver is so much higher. Like, if I reanimate Sludge Titan and get a creature back to my hand that's neat, if I reanimate um, the Colossal Grave Reaver and get back something, like, that's an instant board presence. And I need to make room anyway. Alright, we're at the 40-minute mark. Alright, let's look at life gain now. Okay, we've already decided to get rid of the Null Priest. Okay. Currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 cards on the list for life gain. I do not have anywhere near that much room for life gain. Now, granted, a bunch of the cards are also somewhere else on the list. So they're doing other things and gaining me life. Part of me wonders if I should get rid of them and focus on the life gain aspect of the things. Like, what is in here primarily to gain me life? And what can I cut from those cards? Maybe Grim Feast. I do like Grim Feast in the deck, but the problem is that the life gain is important, and if I kill a thing, the problem is I'm not gonna kill like one thing every few turns and then take some damage from it. I'm like, things are going to die. It's Commander. So the only question is, are they actually dying and going to the graveyard, and is Grim Feast still in play to see them go? I feel like the answer is going to be yes most of the time. Like, I feel like the answer for is Grim Feast still going to be in play is yes more often than Sangromancer is. Like, Sangromancer is going to the graveyard alongside all of these dying things. She's better when the creatures are smaller. Like, she rewards me more for a whole bunch of 1/1 tokens dying. In a way Grim Feast just can't. But once they get past 3 toughness, then the Grim Feast goes back to being the better one. And I'm not making the opponent's discard, so Sangromancer's ability to catch, like, free value from the opponent's discarding is entirely contingent on what they're doing. It's possible it's Nighthawk Scavenger. It's only okay. Nighthawk is entirely opponent's graveyard, right? It's not all players. To 1+. Yeah, it does have to be opponent's graveyards. Which is not that hard to do. Like, it's very easy for this to be like a 3/3 or 4/3 flying lifelink by the time it's attacking just from people casting an instant, a sorcery, a card draw spell, a ramp spell, a fetch land. Like, some combination of those is going to the graveyard early. That being said, I need cuts, and I don't think I need the scavenger. It's just nice to have. Alright, my voice is starting to go a little bit, and we're getting close to time, so let's see if we can find anything else. Is there anything else that can come off the life gain list? I feel like it's Sangromancer. If I'm cutting something, because I have no control over when they discard, and the fact that she is a creature herself when she dies, like, if creatures are dying that much, then she's in real danger of being one of the creatures that died. Like, if it's not literally me casting in Garrick's Wake to kill everything, chances are either only a couple of creatures are dying, or she's dying alongside of them and I'm just getting the life gain that one time, so. Okay. Big spell payoff area. Alright, we already decided to cut Storm, so. Sad as I am about that. Oh, right, Storm of Saruman was in the big spell payoff. I kind of forgot about that. I'm like, it's not going to be on one of the sub lists. That would be silly. Alright, let's see. In 1 second, because I noticed that the stuff is, like, bleeding off the bottom, so. Oh, wait, are you also on the big payoff section? Yeah, get out of here, Sakaran Infiltrator. You are, in fact, done here. Okay. Alright, so cross that off the list. Come up here. Go down to 117. Get this off the list here. So I can see Oracle of Moldiah. Alright. Alright, so that's 1... 2... 3... 4... Somewhere else on... Okay. 4... Oh, it's all one word. It's 5... 6. Make sure it's not anywhere else. Okay. Seven. It's 8. And 9. Alright, so that's 9 cards off the list. Brings me down to 108. You. Delete you. There's nothing under Oracle. Okay. So yeah, before things fall off the bottom of the list and I forget to cut them or forget that I have cut them and mess up the count, do that. And now we're at 51 minutes, so I think we call it there for right now. I'll be back on later. I might be drafting the new thing that's on Arena right now, which is very similar to Mystery Boosters, where it pulls cards from like all over the history of Magic, but I'm pretty sure it keeps the rarities, so it's not like a weird cube or anything. Like, it's actually random booster packs, but with actual normal rarities for cards. So, you know, like you get a rare or mythic or maybe 2 of them, and then like like 3 to 4 uncommons, and then the rest commons. So you might give that a few tries. But yeah, it's going to do it for me for right now, so thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Have a good rest of your day.